The movie begins with Simone, along with her husband Eric and their two children Susan and Bess, embarking on a journey to France after inheriting a farmhouse there. Her dream is to turn the house into a cheerful bed and breakfast. On the way, Simone asks her daughter Susan how to introduce herself in French. She says that, since they are moving to a French neighborhood, she ought to know that. Finally, they reach the farmhouse. The family looks cheerful as the children discuss how they would transform their new place. They talk about getting a trampoline, and since the lake is too big, Bass talks about keeping sharks, while Susan, scared, argues that a dolphin is better. The house, nestled on 9 acres of land gifted by Simone's mother, holds promises of a new beginning. However, reality sets in as they realize the extent of maintenance required to make it habitable. The age of the house offers challenges, particularly with the troublesome water issue. While Eric dives into his work, Simone takes the initiative to tackle some errands. Accompanied by their children, she ventures into town for shopping. As she is busy selecting some juice, a friendly boy approaches her, offering a recommendation. It's a brief, pleasant interaction that momentarily distracts Simone. However, soon panic strikes as Simone discovers her daughter missing. The terrified woman frantically searches every corner of the shop. Her anxiety mounts by the minute. The language barrier makes it even harder, as she cannot ask others about her daughter properly. Panicked, she rushes outside the store and begins shouting her daughter's name on the road. Before the woman can break down in tears, her daughter is finally found. She reappears, accompanied by a kind stranger who had noticed her wandering alone. Relief washes over Simone as she quickly rushes towards Suzanne and hugs her. The man who had found her wandering in the toy sections turns out to be from Holland too. He tells Susan not to go wandering off without her mother and leaves. Finally happy, Simone gathers her family and heads home with her groceries. Back at the farmhouse, Eric is hard at work fixing the problematic water pipeline. Despite his efforts, the water remains stubbornly cold, presenting yet another hurdle for the family to overcome. He then promises that he will work on it tomorrow, and they will finally have some hot water for showers. Simone smiles at her husband and tells him not to worry. Then, she takes her children and gives them a bath. Later, Simone calls a helpline to ask for some workers, but her miserable French vocabulary gets in the way. Frustrated, the helper at the other end cuts her call. C'est dommage. She then prepares food for her family, and they cheerfully eat their meal amidst the pouring rain. Sometime later, Simone gets a call from her sister, who asks how she is doing and if they are settling in okay. The woman sarcastically replies that it is as if they are on a permanent vacation. Her sister then inquires about her workaholic husband. With a hint of sadness in her eyes, Simone looks over to find her husband Eric sending her children to go play with their mother so that he can work. The next morning, after a chaotic rush to get the children ready for school, Simone drives through the picturesque countryside of France. As she drops off her children, she notices a woman sitting alone in a parked car nearby, her tear-streaked face a stark contrast to the serene surroundings. Simone can't help but feel a pang of empathy as she imagines the woman's turmoil. Later that evening, Simone and her family decide to treat themselves to dinner at a quaint local restaurant. The atmosphere is cozy, with the scent of freshly baked bread wafting through the air. However, the people inside do not seem welcoming at all. They stare at the family strangely, passing unfriendly judgment. Yet, they still decide to settle on a side table and order some food. Their children get up to go play. Left alone, the couple talks about the home and how the renovation is taking longer than usual. Eric asks his wife if she is looking for workers. Sighing, the woman wonders if they should just call in a Polish crew to work for them. But the husband thinks it to be a bad idea, since the town people are already not too welcoming towards them. The restaurant owner comes and sternly tells them that the people there are trying to have a peaceful time there, but their children are making too much noise. Just as they're settling into their meals, the door chimes, and in walks the familiar face of the man who helped reunite them with their daughter. His presence brings a warmth to the room, and Simone realizes with a start that she never properly thanked him. Grateful for the opportunity, she introduces him to Eric, and they share a lighthearted moment of gratitude. They converse a bit, and it turns out that he knew Simone's mother. He asks about the renovation, and they tell him how they could use an extra pair of hands. The following day dawns bright and clear, and Peter, the helpful stranger from the previous day, makes his way to Eric's doorstep. His presence brings a sense of anticipation, and Simone can't help but feel hopeful as they discuss plans for renovating the farmhouse. Peter's expertise is evident as he offers practical advice on tackling the moisture issue, and Simone is relieved to have his guidance. As Simone and Eric delve into the arduous task of clearing out the old farmhouse, memories flood back of their shared dreams and aspirations. Eric and Simone work side by side, moving furniture, cutting wood and collecting things from inside the place that might be useful. One afternoon, as Simone returns from running errands in town, she is surprised to find the farmhouse bustling with activity. Among the workers is the boy she encountered at the store, his cheerful demeanor a welcome sight amidst the chaos. Grateful for their assistance, Simone invites the workers to join them for a meal. The woman cooks spaghetti for them and serves it on a table where they all sit together and eat. Later, as Simone struggles with chopping wood, the same charming boy steps in to lend a hand. His easy confidence and to-the-point instructions make the task easier for the woman to carry out, and Simone can't help but be drawn to his infectious energy. While showing her how to swing the axe, the boy touches her hand. The touch sends shivers tingling down this married woman's spine. After she gets the hang of the task, the boy leaves, and she is left staring after him. Later, Simone goes to fetch her children from school. After getting back home, they spend a happy time together, looking through Simone's childhood photo album. Her children ask her about the pictures, and she doesn't know about most of them. This prompts Bas to comment that she doesn't know much about her mother. Bas comments that perhaps his grandma didn't like his mother that much. It seems Simone had a rather vulnerable relationship with her. Looking through the album, they come across a page that has Simone's letter to her mother about her school going okay. On the side of the next page, there is a short scribble written by her mother. It says, "My dear little girl." Seeing this, Susan tells her brother that he was wrong, and their grandma did like their mother. Simone gets a little emotional over this and quickly shuts the album. She then ushers them off for a shower. As the evening progresses, Peter, Eric, and Simone, along with the children, find themselves enjoying a dinner date at home. They have put up lighting, and the ambience of the place adds to the warmth of their conversation. Eric steps away momentarily to fetch more wine, leaving Simone and Peter alone. In an unexpected turn, Peter leans in and remarks that, although he knows the woman didn't have a mother to raise her, Simone is a terrible cook. His words catch Simone off guard, and she can't help but feel a twinge of discomfort at his blunt critique. Ouch, that was harsh. Before she can say anything, her husband comes back. After Eric's arrival, the man's tone changes, and he says how they have got everything, from a family, children to a huge house. Eric laughs and says that, although Simone's mom left her for a lover at the age of 6, at least she left a huge estate after her passing. Curious about Peter's background, Simone steers the conversation towards family, asking if he has any children of his own. Peter watches her sourly and then reveals that he doesn't have children, but mentions his ex-partner's son. He says that the boy is almost like a son to him as well. Before Eric returns, he casually mentions Simone's inheritance from her mother, a detail she hadn't anticipated sharing. This makes the woman more uncomfortable, and she tells Eric, back in the kitchen, that he shouldn't be telling people about such things. Eric, on the other hand, says that she should start trusting people a little, as Peter is just like their friend, not just a contractor. This man needs to be a little more situationally aware. The next morning, Simone is busy looking through a cookbook when the crew arrives for work. Poor woman took Peter's ugly comment to heart. She sees the charming boy and they make eye contact. The boy then sees her stealing glances at him and smiles. Later, while the woman is cooking her recent recipe, her husband comes in and asks for her signature on a permit of 6,000 euros. The woman is a bit skeptical, but trusting her husband, she signs it. He then reminds her to put in more firewood and leaves. Later, after telling her husband to come in for dinner, since it is almost ready, she goes to carry the firewood. While bringing it in, she finds herself trailed by the charming boy named Mitchell. He rushes in and grabs the trolley from her. She doesn't think much of his presence at first, and lets him assist with carrying the wood. She is grateful for the help, unaware of the boy's ulterior motives. Once inside, the boy continues to lend a hand, helping Simone light the fire in the house. However, his gestures soon become more intimate, and he attempts to kiss her. Caught off guard and unsure, Simone hesitates, but she does not seem averse to the idea. However, the boy suddenly becomes distant, and after a moment he retreats, leaving Simone all alone. Grappling with her conflicting emotions and strange attraction, the woman steps outside to gather her thoughts. She feels almost out of breath with the whirlwind of emotions inside her. On one hand, she acknowledges the boy's attractiveness and the allure of his mysterious charm. Yet, on the other hand, she wrestles with the fear of Eric discovering the encounter and the internal turmoil of betraying her own values. Struggling to focus, Simone's mind drifts throughout the day, her inner turmoil reflected in her distracted actions. This distraction leads to a mishap in the kitchen, resulting in burnt food. Despite her embarrassment, Simone serves the charred meal to the workers, who each take out their own homemade lunch boxes. The poor woman is disheartened to see this, but her mood improves as she notices Mitchell eagerly enjoying his portion. She steals glances at the boy throughout the meal. Her husband, who sits right beside her, is oblivious to this detail. Another reason why he needs situational awareness. However, Peter diligently notices. Later, after her children come back from school, they plan on an outing, but her husband almost rushes out after telling her that he has a meeting with Peter. This makes poor Simone sad. She tells him how they were supposed to spend the day together. She complains how they barely see him around. Even after they came here to spend more time together, the man keeps going off to work. Eric, feeling guilty, decides to take them out for something fun, which turns out to be yet another outing accompanied by Peter. The man shows them around the market, where the children see different pet animals and a bustling atmosphere. There, Peter takes Simone aside and tells her that he plans to build bungalows on her property. They would split the profit 50-50. Simone, who has no idea what is going on, is shocked. It turns out the man talked Eric into changing their plan and going forward with building more than what they initially planned. As the woman is reeling from shock, a young woman approaches Simone, recognizing Peter's association with them. She turns out to be the same woman Simone had seen crying outside the school. Simone affirms Peter's involvement in working for them, prompting the girl to issue a warning. She advises her to maintain a distance from him. The encounter leaves her feeling unsettled, her thoughts swirling with questions about Peter's intentions. That night, a troubled Simone wants to talk about the bungalows with her husband, who goes ahead and sleeps before she has a chance. The following morning brings another task-filled day, with Eric needing to visit the hardware store, but since he is busy, he asks Mitchell to run an errand for him. He asks Simone to accompany the boy, since he is unwilling to hand over his debit card to a total stranger. Despite Simone's initial reluctance, she agrees to go along with Mitchell. Their trip takes an unexpected turn when they arrive at the closed store, and Mitchell suggests an alternative destination. He takes the woman on an unexpected lunch date to a beautiful and serene spot. There, alone together, Mitchell strikes up a conversation, probing Simone about her dreams and aspirations in life. His sincerity catches Simone off guard. Almost instinctively, the woman begins to pour out her heart to this young man she is attracted to. Before long, the atmosphere gets heavily intimate. The boy leans in and kisses her, leaving Simone stunned. That night, the woman tosses and turns beside her husband, unable to sleep due to guilt. The next day, Simone receives distressing news about Eric's mother, who has suffered a stroke. With Eric rushing to be by her side at the hospital, Simone is torn between accompanying him and fulfilling her responsibilities at home. Sensing her hesitation, Eric convinces her to stay, citing the needs of their children and the workers reliant on her. He asks her to call on her sister in case she feels too lonely. Seeking solace, she reaches out to her sister, inviting her to stay for company and support during this time. Before long, the woman finally arrives. In the quiet moments that follow, Simone finds comfort in her sister's presence, grateful for the familial bond that helps her weather life's storms. One morning, as Simone indulges in a relaxing bath, her solitude is unexpectedly interrupted by Mitchell's entrance into her washroom. Startled, Simone instinctively shields herself, but Mitchell's confident demeanor prompts him to reassure her of her beauty, encouraging her to drop her defenses. Their heated moment is cut short by Suzanne's disruption, diverting Simone's attention. The woman quickly covers herself with a towel and rushes out to aid her daughter. However, before she leaves, the little girl sees Mitchell getting out of the washroom after her mother. The following day, as Simone and her sister are going to fetch the children, Mitchell arrives. He tells Simone that they need to visit the hardware store, so he would like to accompany them on their errand. They can go to the hardware store from there. Julian, Simone's sister, thinks that the boy is interested in her, and is happy about him coming along. She is blissfully unaware of the storm that her sister is brewing up. As they make their way, Julian tells Mitchell that they will go to the school before going to the hardware store. As they reach the school, Simone has a change of heart, and decides to leave the children with Julian while she and Mitchell head to the hardware store together. Left alone, Julian is conflicted at her sister's abrupt decision. During their journey, Mitchell's advances escalate. He leads them to an abandoned house secluded from prying eyes, where they continue to entangle in heated passion. In the throes of passion, Simone finds herself swept away by the intensity of the moment, momentarily forgetting the complexities of her situation. As she goes about her daily chores, memories of her passionate time with Mitchell linger, evoking both pleasure and unease. That night, Simone prepares for bed. As she brushes her teeth, she hears a voice and is startled by the sound of footsteps. With trepidation, she investigates with a torch, only to find Peter lurking in the darkness. After she sees Peter, a strange fear grips her. His unexpected presence sends shivers down her spine. Peter informs her that Eric has tasked him with monitoring everyone. He then casually mentions an upcoming party, asking her to purchase a nice dress before departing. This leaves Simone to ponder the implications of his words long after he's gone. Mitchell and Simone, both working together in the same household, often find moments to steal away and indulge in their clandestine affair. However, their secret liaison is bound to come to light eventually. One day, as the two lie in each other's embrace in Mitchell's house, he confides in Simone about the tragic loss of his mother at a tender age of 6. Sympathy tugs at Simone's heart as she learns of Mitchell's past struggles. Despite the risk of discovery, Simone continues to rendezvous with Mitchell in secluded spots, disguising their meetings as errands or chores. However, suspicions begin to arise, particularly from Julian, who senses something amiss in Simone's behavior. The day that she leaves, she makes sure to tell Simone that she is aware of her secret affair. She tells her that she is not blind, and neither is Eric. The woman's entire being tremors with the revelation. And finally, the reality of what she has done sets in. Fearful of the repercussions, Simone confronts Mitchell, insisting that their relationship must end, and demanding he find employment elsewhere. With a heavy heart, Simone ends their affair, determined to salvage her marriage and protect her family. However, it is not as easy as it seems. The tension escalates when Eric unexpectedly returns home. He is catching up with his children, who ask about their grandmother and how she is doing. He asks if their aunt helped their mother. Hearing this, Susan tells her father how her aunt read to them when their mother was gone, and reveals she saw her in the bathroom with Mitchell. Thus, Simone's attempts to return to normalcy are thwarted when Eric learns of this. Although she tries to quench her husband's suspicion by saying that he was just fixing the geyser, Eric remains suspicious. His trust in her is shaken, but ultimately, he chooses to ignore his doubts for the sake of peace in their household. The following day, Simone is taken aback to find Mitchell back at work. Questioning his return, she receives a blunt response from Mitchell. Over breakfast, Eric and Peter broach the subject of constructing bungalows on Simone's property, a proposition that has been troubling her for quite some time. She firmly rejects their proposal. That night, Simone finds herself embroiled in a fight with her husband over this matter. Amidst their heated argument, Simone's guilt-ridden conscience awakens and she breaks down in tears, apologizing to her husband again and again. The next day, Simone notices that Mitchell has finally listened to her and is notably absent from work. Alone in the kitchen, a sudden wave of nausea washes over her, prompting her to rush to the washroom. There, she takes a pregnancy test. The positive result sends shockwaves through Simone, leading her to seek out a doctor for advice on termination. However, the doctor's perspective challenges her convictions. He tells her that a child is a gift of God, thus they take abortions very seriously. Returning home, Simone's turmoil reaches new heights. She is unable to sleep that night, her mind filled with worries and stress. The next day, when she encounters Peter, the man threatens her with incriminating photos of her and Mitchell. He says that lest she wants her affair to be public, she should not get in the way of their plans. Cornered and vulnerable, Simone reluctantly succumbs to Peter's blackmail. Soon, the construction for the bungalows begins. The poor woman's anxiety escalates with each passing moment. A few days later, amidst the festivities at Peter's party, Simone's eyes catch sight of a photograph displaying Peter and Mitchell together. Suddenly, a chilling realization dawns on her. Peter's ex-partner's son and Mitchell's late mother, their stories almost align. Could it be that Peter and Mitchell had orchestrated this deception together? Her suspicions are confirmed when the same woman who warned Simone to stay away from Peter approaches her, revealing she too had fallen victim to their deceitful schemes. Simone's fury boils over, and she storms out of the party with Mitchell hot on her heels. Confronting him in a fit of rage, Simone accuses him of manipulation and betrayal. She shouts at him, saying that he made her pregnant, and now she is getting rid of the baby. Hearing this, Mitchell gets angry and slaps the woman across the face. Just then, Peter emerges silently, his knowledge of Simone's pregnancy hanging in the air. The woman watches this disgusting man with venom dripping down her eyes. The following day, as Simone goes about her routine of dropping off the children at school, Mitchell and Peter bombard her with numerous calls, but she refuses to answer. Meanwhile, Mitchell's voicemail urging her not to get rid of his child further complicates matters. As she sits in front of the school, crying, Peter's new client passes by her car, watching her shed tears. It is as if the positions have been changed. Yesterday, it was Simon who watched the previous victim suffer, while today it is her turn being the victim. Returning home, Simone finds Peter waiting for her, and in a moment of desperation, she confesses her intention to tell Eric the truth. However, their argument is cut short as Eric comes towards the commotion. Just then, Mitchell also arrives. In a desperate attempt to turn the situation in his favor, the scheming Peter takes charge, asserting that they are now a family, bound by Simone's pregnancy. As he turns to leave, Simone's anger reaches a boiling point. She angrily pushes Peter, due to which he falls and his head hits the axe. In a tragic turn of events, Peter meets his demise, leaving Simone and Eric with the devastating consequences of their actions. As panic sets in, Mitchell asks Simone and Eric to hastily flee their home. He tells them to abandon Peter's car in his house without anyone seeing them, while he attempts to conceal the body. However, their efforts are thwarted, as Peter's subordinate Antoine sees them at Peter's house. Desperate for a solution, Simone reaches out to Mitchell, telling him that the man saw them. The boy reassures her with promises to handle the situation. Despite their cautious measures, the authorities eventually catch up with Simone, and she finds herself behind bars in a police station lockup. Fear and uncertainty grip her as she awaits her fate. However, sometime later, a glimmer of hope emerges, as the cell beside hers is filled with a new inmate. A voice reaches her ears through the thin walls. Someone calls out to her, asking her to keep quiet and not say anything. Just then, an officer approaches Simone, informing her of new developments in the case. Simone is finally released into Eric's waiting arms. In a surprising twist, it's revealed that Mitchell has confessed to the crime. It becomes evident that Mitchell took the fall to spare Simone from facing the consequences of her actions, even more so in her pregnant state. With the weight of gratitude and guilt heavy on her shoulders, Simone returns home with her family, determined to honor Mitchell's sacrifice. Despite the tumultuous journey, she finds solace in the decision to carry Mitchell's child, a tangible reminder of their intertwined fates and the depth of his love for her.